Hello everyone and welcome to the video. In this video, I'm going to show you how I do my assembly instructions for my 3D printed models. This is a question I get asked a lot. It is a pretty simple process, and I encourage you to, I'm not going to show you exactly how I do, I'm going to gloss over a few things, but I encourage you to kind of take these concepts and develop them into your own style. So to start off with is how we're going to get our images that we're going to work with. So I have my model here. And I'm doing this in Fusion. There's ways to do similar kind of stuff in other applications. Usually here, I use like this view and I'll take screenshots from this and take this over into Photoshop and then color it. That was my old method. And I would use the animation tab here to actually pose a lot of this stuff. And so now I do it all through Illustrator because I wanted a vector output instead of a graphic output. And so what I'll do is I set all this stuff up in the animation here in Fusion, and then I'll go into here, do a new drawing from animation. We're going to do it on this one. We'll just create from new. I'll take a second here while this is. Okay, and then I have previously set up a camera for this. Then we're going to do our visible edges. We're going to do the full length. I'm going to change the scale here. I use the same scale on everything that I bring in here. When I'm doing this, for a given design. And then I'm going to delete all this other stuff because I don't need this. So there's kind of my main object, and this is where I'm starting with. On this one, I just want to focus on the bottom here. So I'm actually going to use this break view. I'll break that up. All right, and now that that's broken up, it's ready to export it. So we'll just export it as a DWG. I do the simplified DWG because the AutoCAD one doesn't work. But from there, I can take that into Illustrator and color it. Before I jump out of Fusion here I'm going to talk about one other thing. So if we go back to the design tab, you can see it's all, white. So we'd have to color it in Photoshop or whatever. But we can actually we can color this stuff in Fusion and kind of get a similar look. It depends on how you do things. I'm just going to apply a white ABS. Let's get a little color on there. You would have to change your materials around a little bit depending on how you approach this. For the way that I do it, I would have to, because usually I'll use a light blue for assembled models, and white for the models that we're currently assembling. So if you come in here, we can turn off our graphic presets, and we already have everything off, so it's pretty flat. And then on the material itself, we can just completely kind of flatten it out even more, so we get a very flat look. And then so we can use this to kind of like apply colors within here, so we don't have to do it in Photoshop if that's all we're doing is taking screenshots out of here. And so this is kind of my method. Yeah, so there's different ways you can do this in different applications. You could use like toon shaders, like in Blender or something. I've done this in 3D Studio Max using a toon shader. It supports bringing in NURBS like this, so I was able to retain all these lines. But this is my preferred method right now, doing it through this, because I can take it over to Illustrator and get a vector file. So here we are in Illustrator again. We're going to pull in our drawing. We're going to scale it to fit our artboard, but we're not going to scale the line weights. And there's our drawing. We don't need this. We're going to get rid of that top section. I like to group this stuff to be organized, so we're going to call this line work. All these in here, and then we're going to copy that. We're going to paste it over here into step 2. Line work down. Scale this up. Oops. Hold shift so it scales uniformly. Now usually for this, I'll turn off these narrow ones because it makes it a little easier, but we want all this stuff selected still. I'm going to hit the K key, which brings up this live paint. I also have a library of colors here ready, so this is going to be a new part. So we're just going to go through and Affinity Design has a similar tool to this. It doesn't work as well as it does here in Illustrator, which is one of the reasons I'm using Illustrator instead of Affinity Design. Because like if you're using Affinity Design, you have to go through and clean up the line work a little more. Here in Illustrator, it's a little smarter about it, thankfully. Or unthankfully, I'd prefer to be using Affinity Design, but you do what you do, or do what you can, rather. Okay, sorry, this is a little sloppy just because I'm demoing it here. For my hardware, the pre-existing hardware in here too, so I'm gonna have to go back and recolor that. Oh, we missed a spot there too. That. Come back to our background. A couple other small things in here real quick. Oops. Spot 2. There we go. That's better. All right. So that's kind of the gist of how I do that. And then I have another layer here where I have like the line work and stuff. Usually I have at least one in there, and I'll go through and manipulate it to get it into where I need it to be, and then I'll copy it around to the other spots since they're all about the same. I'll also do a little masking here to kind of clip it around the spots where it would be obstructed by the model. So but that's kind of the basic about how I do my assembly instructions. They're really simple. It's pretty quick, and I mean it takes most of the time just to kind of arrange the models for the screenshots. But doing the actual graphic part here is pretty quick and easy. So I hope that was helpful.